Keto is neato, like a fat-sucking mosquito. Keto is neato, look at that ninja go. Good morning, ninjas.
Welcome to Princess Ninja in Keto. I'm coming to you from the sunshiny, hot, and balmy state of Florida, where it is currently 80 degrees at 6:35 a.m. My name is Melanie, and this is a segment of my video where I show you what I'm bringing for lunch today to help maintain a higher macro keto diet and maybe give you some ideas. First, let me tell you, I have been choffle binge watching. Yes, I have. So I saw a couple from a channel, Okay Keto. I saw a couple from Wendy Barron's channel. They all look delicious. I have some ideas of my own. I'm sure I'm just reinventing the wheel. I'm sure that somebody else has done what I'm thinking about, but eggs are something I can burn out on very quick. Like, I go through spurts where I'll eat eggs for 4, 5, or 6 days, and then I can't touch one for like 3 weeks. And then I'll get in the mood for eggs again, and I'll eat them for a couple days again, and then I don't touch them for a couple weeks. Eggs are something that, so when I saw these chaffles, because there's so many cooking videos like, these don't taste like eggs at all. And then you eat the recipe and you're like, yeah, actually they do. They taste just like eggs. But I'm hoping that they're not too eggy, but I'm willing to try it because I have a double-sided waffle iron. Maybe I'll do a video this weekend. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. All right. So let me show you what I have for lunch today without spilling it all over me. All right, in the bottom of this container, I have 2 unwitches. And you might ask, if you're new to the keto community, what is an unwitch? It is basically 2 pieces of meat with a piece of cheese and whatever in the middle. I have a teaspoon of Duke's mayonnaise and some mustard in the middle of that, and some provolone cheese. Oh, no. I have my favorite turkey. I have pepper jack cheese. I did buy some. Now, if you're new to keto,
peppers can be what they call a nightshade video.
Peppers don't seem to impact me, but tomatoes do. Tomatoes are also a nightshade video.
Video. God, what am I talking about? Vegetable, Melanie. Actually, do you know tomatoes are a fruit? Yes, that's probably why they affect me, because I can't have strawberries or blueberries either.
Anyway, we have an egg, 1 hard-boiled Pete and Jerry's eggs. The pre-made ones were only $2 for 6 hard-boiled eggs. So that's actually pretty good because they're really good cage-free eggs. Anyway, and then I have my avocado smash and a large Vlasic dill pickle. I like the kosher dill. I don't like regular dill. I like kosher. It's got to be kosher dill. And of course, I have my half a cup. This is a very small container, see? I have a half a cup. It's actually probably 3/4 of a cup of Fage yogurt. I did not put any coconut flake in it this time. I actually used my peach and mango stevia drops. So just to sweeten it just enough. Now, last night I went to the store, and normally I drink a different tea than this, but this was on sale, $2.99 for a 6-pack, so I thought I'd give it a try. And what I have found the best way, if you are someone that misses sweet tea, now I never, ever drank it super sweet. So you know how some people go through the McDonald's drive-thru and then they get the sweet tea, and I've never been able to do that. I've always had to order it half and half. Give me half sweet, half unsweet. Their tea is way too sweet for me. So anyway, back to keto. So what I have found the best way to do this is I buy the 6-pack. I open them all up. I put in about 6 drops of sweet leaf organic stevia drops. And then I throw them in the refrigerator, and cold, they are amazing. I brought myself a little Zevia just in case I wanted a root beer. And that is it for me today. That is it. I am not fasting again. I went ahead and I had a, I've got a coffee with 3 tablespoons of the K2 hazelnut creamer. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. And it's helping me go to the bathroom. So win. Coming up next, I'm going to do a brief explanation of why you can't always just test your blood sugar and what to look for if you're using blood glucose strips to measure how food affects you. Okay, I don't consider myself a teaching channel, but this is important. I think it's important. Now, I'm not a doctor, so I can't give you all of the in-depth mechanisms behind what I'm going to talk about, but I do know what I'm talking about. It is okay to use blood glucose strips to see how something impacts your blood sugar. But please understand that even someone who has been fasting at 48 hours will typically have a higher blood glucose than they will their first day fasting. You might ask, how does that happen? Well, our bodies instinctually are made to survive. So we will store glucose. And that is why the ketogenic diet is so successful at helping people reverse type 2 diabetes, increase their insulin sensitivity, because I was severely insulin resistant when I started this. I was a type 2 diabetic. Okay, so because we are dramatically reducing the carbohydrates we have in our diet, there's not a lot of sugar floating around. What this does is it reduces the amount of insulin in our blood and gives our cells the opportunity to become insulin sensitive. We don't want insulin resistance. But I see a lot of people doing these experiments where they're using strictly blood glucose strips to test to see if a food impacts them. And I think that's very useful. I think we all need to see that. And a lot of us are very, very interested in blood glucose. We geek out. We're like, oh, she's going to do another test. I can't wait. I'm so excited. Right? Someone bring me some pork rinds and a Zevia root beer. Okay, so I'm watching someone do a test, but what I need to know when you do these blood glucose tests is, did you do it under a controlled environment? Okay, meaning, did you eat anything 6 hours before that could have potentially spiked your blood sugar or caused your body to store some glucose? So let me give you for instance, if on Tuesday morning I want to experiment with a food, right? And Monday night I eat a 6-ounce sirloin steak with some roasted Brussels sprouts. That's my dinner. And then I wait 6 hours and I start my experiment. And then on Wednesday morning I want to test a different food, but on Tuesday night I eat a huge chef salad, right? I've consumed like 17 carbohydrates in one sitting. My results already are going to be different the next day because of the amount of carbohydrates that I ate the previous evening versus the last time I tested. So it's really not a fair result, right? The night that I have the protein and the Brussels sprouts and my carb count is very low, by the time I get through to the morning to do my experiment, my blood sugar is probably going to be a lot lower than the day after I eat that huge salad and consume 17 carbs at one sitting. See? The second thing that you need to do to control your experiment is make sure that there's no other food involved and you are isolating this one item. Okay. Here's the mistake a lot of people make. They say, okay, my blood sugar didn't go up. It actually went down. And then they use that to say, in conclusion, it did not spike my blood sugar. The statement on its face would be 100% correct. However, I don't care what my glucose number is. Nope. Because I know that all throughout the day, my body is utilizing glucose, and I never know when that magic time is. I may have already depleted my glucose stores, and my body says she needs some more. Let's grab some from the fat cells and dumps it into my blood. Those blood glucose tests are only telling me the sugar floating around in my blood. Well, guess what? If I've just climbed a flight of stairs and I haven't eaten enough carbohydrates to produce a glucose, and my body's using ketones but just needs that little bit of glucose, or at that moment, maybe my brain calls for a little bit of glucose. Your body does. Maybe my body's not that efficient at taking protein and turning protein into glucose yet, and it's still looking for a little bit of glucose, because maybe instead of counting total carbs, maybe I count net carbs, and yesterday I had 50 total carbs, right? I only had 18 net carbs, but I had 50 total. So maybe my body has some glucose stored somewhere and it's using it at that very moment I'm running the test. So it's very important that you know, if you have a controlled experiment, the first thing you need to know is how does your body normally react? So I would say always do these experiments fasted, at least 6 hours without food, but make sure that your macronutrients and your food group the day before, the 6 hours previous, was the same as it was the last experiment, because it's unfair to start out with a higher number and suspect the new food instead of looking at what you did yesterday and thinking, oh, well, I had 17 carbs in one meal one night and I only had 8 carbs in one meal the night before. So start out on the same foot. The next thing you need to do is isolate that one food. Don't eat anything else with that food. You need to make sure that you're testing before you start the food. You need to make sure you're testing 30 minutes, an hour and a half, up to 2 hours after the food. You also need to pay attention to this. If your blood sugar pretty much stays the same or goes up 2 or 3 or 4 points, because there is up to a 10% inaccuracy in each one of those individual strips. I have tested my sugar at 111, turned around right after that and tested again at 93. So you could have a strip so use a couple strips. What I usually do when I'm doing these experiments is I will do 2 tests each time I test my blood using 2 strips, and I will take the average, because there is a percentage of inaccuracy in these test strips by themselves. The next thing that you need to know is that if your sugar goes up, then yes, you had a glucose response. Did it go up 30 minutes? Did it go up an hour later? Because that could be the difference between a fast carb and a slow carb. Did you eat a fast carb? Did you eat a slow carb? Maybe it doesn't mean that it spiked your blood sugar. Maybe your body just reacted the way it normally would. It doesn't necessarily mean that food is bad for you. It just means it might have had a higher glycemic index. Don't sweat the small stuff. Here's what a lot of people miss. They'll test their blood sugar, and their blood sugar will start out, and I know, I experienced this. I lived this. They'll experience, their blood sugar will be 90. Then they'll test it in 30 minutes and it's down to 83. And they're like, yeah, see, I can eat this food. It's not affecting me at all. As a matter of fact, my blood sugar went down. But oh dear, oh dear, oh dear, what has happened? So your blood sugar may not have spiked, but you just spiked your insulin. Insulin's primary function in the body is to eliminate the amount of sugar floating around freely in the blood. We can't have that. We can't have any of that nonsense. And so if your blood sugar dramatically drops or drops substantially within that 2-hour period, it may not spike your glucose, but it definitely triggered an insulin response. Anyway, that is your lesson for today. I'm sorry this video is so long. I'm normally not a teaching channel, but I'm open for comments, ideas, suggestions, opinions. I hope you guys have a great day. That's mommy's baby. Oh, that's mommy's baby. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Say hi, Whistle. All right, guys. So I'm wrapping it up for the night. Let's talk a little bit about my keto day. Over calories, over carbs again, but amazingly so, I'm still in ketosis. And I think it's because everything that I'm eating is keto. So I ended up having right around 2,000 calories today. My carbohydrates are at 28, but my net carbs are at 11. So maybe that's what's making a little bit of a difference. So right now I'm just kind of, day to day, moving on emotionally. I do feel better about the problem that I was struggling with. And I am letting that go, but I'm still struggling with feeling depressed. I'm still struggling with feeling anxiety. And I've got to just give all of that up. Anyway, so at some point today when I knew that I wasn't going to make my goal, I even stopped tracking. I'm like, But the good news is, for dinner, I made my very first chaffle. Is that how you say it? And I just did 1 whole egg, 1 egg white, and then I did basil, garlic, onion, and aged Parmesan cheese. So I put the aged Parmesan cheese in the egg mix, and then I did the mozzarella on both sides. And I ate 2 of those. But I have a big waffle maker, so they were pretty big. But still, once again, 4 eggs is what I ended up having for dinner altogether. So that's all I got for today. I hope the explanation about blood sugar isn't too terribly boring. That's all I got. I'm trying to cheer up, guys. I'm trying to cheer up. I'll see you tomorrow with another vlog. Good night. Sleep tight and don't let the bed bugs bite.